What is your name?
Kendall Ross.
And what do you do for a living?
I am the sport club coordinator for recreational sports at Chico State, so I manage our competitive sport club traveling teams as well as our summer camp youth programs.
Okay. What goes into planning the sports teams for Chico State?
So my role is an advising component for the 20 competitive teams. So ultimate frisbee, water polos, rugbies, lacrosses, soccers, volleyballs. And so this beginning of the year, planning was training all 100 student officers, as well as getting them up to speed on department policy, university policy, CSU, so California State University system policies, getting them trained and prepared to practice, travel, hold tryouts, get coaching on staff, pretty much you name it administratively, helping the clubs meet university standards.
And how long do you have to train each student employee?
So our officers, this was the first year we did a half-day training, so it was about 4.5 hours long, where every single officer was required to be there, and each club is required to have 5 officers, so president, vice president, treasurer, travel officer, and safety officer. So they went through area-specific trainings as well as general knowledge-based trainings, so hazing awareness, alcohol awareness, social media logo usage and marketing, as well as area specific for their position.
Okay. And then for the positions, I know you said like the treasurer, the president, vice president, are you in charge of appointing those, or is it more so like of a voting of who they choose to be in those positions?
Each club has a club constitution or a charter that dictates how their officers are elected. So that is a club decision based on what their charter states, and sometimes that is an appointment by a previous officer or an electoral process through their constitution with a 2/3 majority vote.
Okay. And then I know there's different seasons for each different sport that you're planning. So how far in advance do you plan for each sport?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Only because I'm busy year round, because when I'm not doing some sport clubs, I'm doing summer camps. So I have about a 2-week window to plan each semester. So in August, I start planning for the start of the school semester. Usually that's around August 7th or so to plan for the fall. And then for the spring, I start an intersession to plan for the spring. So having been in this position, though, for going on my 5th year, I pretty much have it down. I have a timeline that I've created and follow so that I know when I should be doing certain things.
Awesome. And then which sports are in the fall, and then which sports are in the spring?
Fall sports are men's water polo, men's and women's soccer, water ski, field hockey, cycling, which is the mountain biking component of our cycling team. And that's it.
That's it.
So all the others are spring sports. Which are baseball, rowing, triathlon, wakeboard, men's and women's rugby, men's and women's volleyball, men's and women's lacrosse, men's and women's ultimate, inline hockey.
Wow. Okay, and I know that they do travel, so you're in charge of their travel expenses, how their rooms, the board,
Correct.
Do you guys offer food as well?
So, and when you say in charge of, I help them manage their club finances.
Okay,
They do get some department funding through our office, but it's nowhere near enough to fund an entire season.
Okay.
I mean, each club season probably can run anywhere between $10,000 to $30,000 for club expenses. So our office doesn't have a way to fund that for 20 teams. We do give them some financial support, but most of what they do is all club generated funding, which is through dues for participation, donations, and fundraising. Our office helps them manage their finances, though. So we help them we work with the treasurers to train them on procedures to how to pay for things, how to deposit money here on campus, and then also working on a budget plan to ensure that they understand how a budget works so they can't go into debt. And then we help them figure out how much money do they currently have, how much our hotel's going to cost when they go to places like Santa Barbara or Oregon, renting vehicles, reimbursing for things like gas and food and entry fees to competitions. So we help with the financial financial aspect, and then we also help them with trip logistics because they're required to follow university policy while on travel because they're representing Chico State. Okay. So making sure they've all been defensive driver trained, so they have to have gone through that course, that they all have insurance on their vehicles and they're registered, and then where they're going, when they're going, who they're going with, when are they coming back, where are they staying, what's the weather like, is there road construction, all of those things we help them plan logistically.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so ultimately it kind of goes like back towards the treasurer who's like, okay, like we're staying at this hotel on this date, so they're, like you said, they're in charge of that, but you guys are giving them like that helping hand, like, okay, this is what you guys need to do.
Right. And having been in this position for quite a while, I pretty much know how much everything costs for them.
Really?
I know how much it's going to cost to send 30 men's soccer players down to San Diego for a weekend trip when we talk about renting vehicles, gas reimbursement, hotels, food, because a lot of our clubs travel to the same locations every year. So those numbers they pretty much look the same. Of course, a little bit higher when you talk about inflation, but nothing too drastic. So.
Awesome. And then are you in charge of their planning their practice schedules?
Yes. Yeah. So all of the clubs submit what they would like their practice schedules to be. But of course with 20 teams, I think 13 of which practice here on campus, we just don't have enough recreation space to accommodate their first priority. And so we have a ranking system within our teams, gold tier, silver tier, bronze tier, gold tier being the highest status where you receive more funding from our office as well as priority scheduling. And that's determined based on your on and off the field performance the previous year. And so administratively, how did you do? And competitively, how did you do? And then they submit requests to me, and based on their tier status with our office, they are prioritized for scheduling. So our biggest one are grass sports, because we have 9 grass teams that like to use the fields, and really we only have 2 adequate field spaces on campus.
Yeah. Are they the ones like behind the track?
Yeah, so we have the track, which we get to use for 4 hours a day. And then we have what we call field 6 and 7, or the rugby pitch field that we get to use about 2 hours a day. So
yeah, because I've seen like lacrosse players like when I'm coming out of YOLO and they're just like practicing on YOLO field, and I'm like, what do you guys do?
Yeah,
like
practicing. Yeah,
yeah. That's kind of interesting. I didn't know like how many like teams you were like helping and how many. Like what goes behind them.
Yeah, and those are just our competitive teams. So we also have recreational teams as well, and they don't travel.
Okay, are those is that like the sign that's out there, like, oh, you can play, or that's kind of like intramural, or that's totally
intramurals are different. Yeah.
Okay.
So clubs are student-led, typically student-funded teams, and they're formed by members. By Chico State students, right? There's an interest for rugby, so we want to start a club to play rugby because there is no other way to play rugby here. We don't have a varsity sport and we don't have intramural sport. Same thing with a lot of our movement or dance-based clubs, and those are our recreational clubs, where they do more performance-based they're more performance-based focused, and they're more local. So like our cheer team, Expressions, which is our dance team, tennis is just local, so they really just get together and practice here on campus and perform locally. They don't travel and compete like our competitive clubs do. And so we have 7 recreational clubs, so 27 total, about 750 student athletes participate in just our program alone. And then intramurals are leagues for Chico State students here on campus that the intramural program decides what those look like.
Is that like, that's Daniel
and Steve?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So they decide, this semester we're going to run flag football, basketball, soccer, dodgeball. Next semester we're going to run basketball, softball, whatever they would like. So.
And then those ones are held here in the rec, correct? Majority of
the time.
Some
are here. But they also have to share the fields with us because those are the only fields on campus. So we share the fields with our sport club program, intramural program, classes, so kinesiology and athletics, as well as any special events that happen on campus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you said you also do summer camp. How long does it take you to plan summer camp?
We usually start planning in summer camp in February of that year for the upcoming summer. I have been involved with the summer camp program here for 11 years. So same situation. I pretty much have it down. I have a timeline that I follow, but we always have new staff involved each year for planning. So we always start in February because registration, we have to get up with registration, hiring our staff. That typically is a long process, and registration, getting that prepared is a long process. So a lot of that is happening in the spring semester. And then, of course, once we get towards the end of the spring semester, we are communicating with parents a lot about upcoming summer camps, as well as training all of our staff, ordering equipment, reserving facilities.
And then with the employment, do you often find it difficult to find employees since the summer camp is kind of like only really locals hear about it?
Yeah, kind of. And we don't have a way to employ people year round who want to work with kids, because we don't offer youth programs during the school year, because we're doing competitive sport clubs and intramural programs through recreational sports. So sometimes we will have students that are looking for year-round employment, and they will work for us in our other programs during the school year and then do summer camp in the summertime. But it's very difficult to find a person who's interested in both of those fields. Typically, they're just interested in one. And so for our summer camp, that creates a lot of turnover in our counselors, because we can't retain them because they'll find other employment elsewhere, and then they're committed to that job for the upcoming summer. And so trying to find people who want to work for both seems to be the best option for us for retention, because retraining a brand new staff every summer isn't fun. So.
And then is Austin kind of like the exception where he's doing both?
Yeah, Austin, he has worked in like pretty much every single possible student position you could imagine with our program. So he's been with us. That was his third summer, which has been fantastic. We do have some of our returners are in the credential program, so they can't really have employment during the school year, and so just having a summer job works for them.
Okay. And then, sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
During all of this planning, do you ever find any obstacles that happen, that pop up, and then you're like, man, like, why is this happening?
Working within the university system, there's, of course, a lot of bureaucracy and red tape, so you have to learn how to navigate that, especially when we talk about facility usage, because you heard it's tons of shared space. Yeah. So making sure who's using what when, who used it last, if there's damage to a facility. Construction issues come about. If you've been out to Yolo Fields, you see there's construction. That normally is a field that we would use to play on, but it'll be out for about a year and a half. We're coming to the close here pretty soon.
Really?
Any type of renovations that happen in the Acker facility, because it's a very old facility, impact our programs. So constant communication with multiple departments and multiple entities on campus is a big one. The other is the risk management component. I mean, working with youth is a huge risk management issue, but then also our competitive teams is a huge risk management issue, because they don't have full-time coaches. It's students doing all of this stuff. So those are probably two big ones.
And then do you ever find it like a difficult situation where one of your teams practice at either in a building or a field, and then another team comes in and it's like, whoa, like, not wording this correctly.
Do we ever have like double scheduling conflicts?
No. Saying that your team messed up either the field or the building that they were in, when technically it really wasn't them, but it was...
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's no cameras.
Yeah.
You know, it could have been like that for a week, and just now somebody noticed it. Of course, those are big issues. The biggest one we have are with the gyms over in the Acker facility. A lot of programs like to put tape down on the floor to indicate, you know, especially for volleyball, where you should jump from for your spike. There's only a very specific type of tape that you can use on that gym floor with that finish. But we have volleyball programs, but so does varsity athletic, and so does kinesiology offers volleyball classes. So who knows who put the tape down. So typically once a semester we get an email that says, don't forget, this is the appropriate tape that you need to use. But sometimes somebody goes out there and uses the wrong tape, and there's really no way to know who did it. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then one final question. What made you go into the recreation program? Was this like your ultimate goal in being in this position?
No.
Or what was your...
I was a liberal studies major, elementary education.
Mm-hmm.
Got a job working summer camp as a student. Rec sports offered me a job during the school year, and here I am as a student. So worked as a student for a couple years, got into an admin role when I graduated, so doing a lot of the finances and budget component, and then elevated into the sport club and camp director position.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.